Well, hi guys, it's that time. It's our Bible teaching snippet of the day. Yesterday, I started laying the groundwork to reteach what the Bible really is teaching when Paul corrects the Corinthian church about what we now call communion. Back then, they called it the Last Supper, or the Lord's Supper. And so Paul writes to them. He's dealing with a carnal, flesh-led, baby Christian group of believers. Let me clear this up for you. The Corinthians were extremely pagan, okay? They were Gentiles and they worshiped a lot of gods. They went to temples where there were temple prostitutes. Many of these women who are now Christians were temple prostitutes, and he actually covers some of that in this letter. But I'm not teaching on that today. I'm trying to stay on the subject of communion and correct what our church today has twisted and mutilated and turned it into something God never intended, and neither did Paul intend it to be, okay? Now, I'm not mad at the church. I'm not mad at church leaders. I'm disappointed that we have just taken bits and pieces and used little certain verses to eliminate people or condemn people. And that is not what this letter is about, guys, okay? But I do want to tell you about the Corinthians. When someone was called a Corinthian girl or a Corinthian woman, that meant that she was a loose, immoral tramp. She was the lowest of low. It was the lowest form of an insult that you could give to a woman. That's how rough these, quote, Corinthians were. Okay, so now that I've set a little foundation today, I want to get in the Bible. Let me say this. Communion was never meant to be a religious act or some sacred ritual that we've made it be in so many churches. That is absolutely not what this was about. This communion thing was meant to be a very intimate encounter with God. Jesus talks about us being in unity with Him and with the Father in John 17. And guys, let me say this. This is so important that you get this. I have people that's had long-term illnesses, and I ask them to do communion every day, not as a ritual, but alone time with God, just praying. And did you know they get healed of stuff? Okay. This is why I want you to understand. You know, even Jesus said in Luke 22, when he was with the boys, he said, I have earnestly desired to share this meal with you. Do you really think Jesus is earnestly desiring to have some religious ritual with us? He's really not, because I can tell you what he wants is us to be in unity with him and with each other. So let me get started teaching a little bit more heavier and deeper today. Now, I want to correct something. I have heard that if you're in a church and you're not a Christian, you cannot take communion. And I want to say this. Should they? Probably not. Is it written in the Bible that they cannot? No, it is not. And I want to say this. The gospel and Jesus was never set out to eliminate and exclude people. It was put in place to bring people in to Christ, not to push them out and say, oh, you're not welcome here. You're not part of this club today. Watch this. And now, I'm going to hit you hard. Here we go. Did you know that at the Last Supper, when Jesus had communion or the last meal with his boys, none of the 12 were Christians? I know, they were believers. Let me help you with that little story too. The disciples were believers, but were they born again? No. Were they Christians? No. Watch this. Did they believe that Jesus was redeeming them, specifically themselves, of their sin? And the answer is no. I'm going to prove that to you. Over in Acts 1:6, he actually says in there that one of the disciples asked Jesus, when, Lord, will you redeem? and bring back the kingdom of Israel. And this is after he was beaten, crucified, resurrected, and he's getting ready to ascend to heaven. And so the disciples are still confused about his full purpose of being on earth to redeem mankind, not the kingdom of Israel. Okay? So I just want to make sure you understand that. Now let's talk about this. Even if the 11 believed that Jesus was their Redeemer or the Son of God, guess what? Judas took communion, and I assure you, Judas was not a believer. Judas sold Jesus out because he did not believe Jesus was who he said he was. Okay, so let's keep going, I guess. I'm just going to kind of wrap this up today because I'm already getting close to my end, and I'm going to do one more teaching on this. This is so important, guys. This is why people don't get healed at communion services. This is why people don't get set free of the sin that so easily besets them, because we have so many wrong teachings about communion. If we understood the value of communion, every person would be healed and set free during communion. But watch this. I want to say this before I close today, okay? I want to tell you about that in the beginning when communion was taken, what we call communion, they would do the Lord's Supper. And in the beginning, the disciples would do communion, the breaking of the bread, and the drinking of the wine in remembrance of Jesus' death and resurrection. They started doing it at first every single day when they were meeting in homes. And later they would start doing it weekly. And then it would be done as often as they desired to do it. And I've got scriptures that back that up. But here's the thing that I want to leave with you today. Well, according to history, and even I'm going to give you Acts 20, verse 7, and 1 Corinthians 16:2 starts showing that they did it on the Lord's Day, which was Sunday, the day that Jesus resurrected. Now watch this. I want to make sure you understand where I want to go with this. In the very beginning, when people did communion, they did it as a way of staying healthy and whole and out of conviction and knowing that everything was that they were in communion. The word communion means to come in union with, okay? So communion was their way of coming into union with Jesus and maintaining their health and wholeness. So I'm going to cut you loose today, but I am going to talk a little bit more about Corinthians chapter 11 because I need to lay down some wrong teachings about some wrong words that we twist in that. And I'm going to let you go today, though. I love you, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.